Hi, I'm Deshaun Scarborough, Executive Director of your Arkansas Martin Luther King Jr. Commission. You know, today is a very important day. We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Martin Luther King Commission and its existence. You know, many years ago, we had an opportunity to have a Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, and many states do not. We are very fortunate and want to take the legacy and promote it all over the state. Tune in. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned.
Well, come on, man. My dad's one of the producers. Bring this sweet. The first day stepping on the court, I couldn't keep up. That motivated me to step up my game. When I reach a goal, I set a new one the next day. The best feeling is getting to a place you've been fighting for. Tennis taught me to never give up in anything. School, sports, life. Your opponent has to earn their victory. Nothing in life is guaranteed, so education is important. Going to college is one of my biggest goals. I can't wait. Mastering the court takes persistence. So does getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
The Arkansas Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, its purpose is to promote racial harmony, multicultural diversity, and social equality for all Arkansans. You know what's great about this organization is to see us 20 years later to be able to share the experience and bring it back all the former commissioners and also the current commissioners as we blend in together to promote and share that legacy.
Well, it's just an absolute honor to have been a part of the Martin Luther King Commission and to celebrate this 20th anniversary of a commission that has commemorated the legacy of Dr. King over the years here in the state of Arkansas, where not far, maybe 10 blocks from here, 9 students integrated Central High School, and this city had the light of the world shining on it. So it's just an honor to have a Martin Luther King Commission here commemorating the civil rights movement and the legacy of Dr. King.
I would be remiss if I didn't stop and recognize my beautiful wife and daughter who are just now walking in, Angela and Kennedy Scarborough. Thank you so much. I thank her for her continuous support and their patience, because as my commissioners are always fussing at me, I'm never at home. So will our past commissioners please stand and raise your hand? All right, give them a round of applause. Since Reconstruction, we now have 13 great new commissioners and are doing wonderful jobs, as did our past commissioners. Could you all please stand and raise your hand? Or many of them are standing in the back room. Realizing that without our past, we wouldn't have a present. But I would like to bring to the stage our chairman, Mr. Phil Kaplan. Please give him a round of applause.
I really don't deserve the applause. I think it really all goes to the other members of the commission and to our wonderful executive director. Without the incredibly hard work that Deshaun Scarborough has done, this agency would not have achieved the kind of results that we have achieved. I'm glad to see, yes. I'm so glad to see all of you here. I'm particularly happy that the chair of the Arkansas Public Service Commission is here, Ms. Colette Honorable. Thank you for gracing us, Colette, and she gets a round of applause too. And as you know, she was honored just a few weeks ago at the NCJ annual dinner with an award. It is well deserved, and it was just a wonderful evening. Coca-Cola is our sponsor. Thank you very much. Brought to my attention. Really, it is my privilege and honor to introduce the governor who signed the legislation creating this commission. The Honorable Jim Guy Tucker and I met about 1970 when he was a young lawyer at the Rose firm at 720 West 3rd, and I was a young lawyer at the McMath firm at 711 West 3rd, right across the street. And we have been friends since then. He has gone on to accomplish great things as the prosecuting attorney and as our congressman, as our lieutenant governor and governor, and now as a distinguished businessman. It gives me great pleasure to have Jim Guy Tucker address you.
Thank you very much, Phil, and I want to tell you it is an absolute delight to be here with you tonight, and I appreciate so much the work all of you do in your various boards and commissions that you volunteer your time and your talents and energy to. Commissioner Honorable, we're delighted to see you this evening. Bob, thank you again to Coca-Cola for helping us out this evening. The creation of the Martin Luther King Commission was something that generated minimal debate, but Tracy Steele, who was on my staff back at the time, was one of those who advocated for it. And Tracy, I'm glad to see you. But this is a time, given the legislative session that has just ended and the political debates in Washington, to reflect again on why we created that commission and why we honor Dr. King as we do. In our political debates and in our private profit-seeking, we too often succumb to the petty and the small and the ugly side and the violent side of our human nature. We always fight against that human nature. Our shortcomings in that regard are not limited to those of us in this state or in this country. I've had the opportunity to travel around much of the world, and I've seen it between Israelis and Palestinians, between Sunnis and Shias, between tribes in Africa, in Indonesia where they hated the Chinese. We see it in hatreds of people who are different than we and our customs are. And somehow we can't break loose from that difference to open our minds, which have to open first, and then our hearts to those who are different. So often we see that generated by the language that is used so carelessly by people who get carried away with trying to accent that difference. We saw it in the Twitter language that one of our legislators used and has apologized for since then, but it never should have happened. We saw it in the Boston Marathon tragedy, which was so horrible and violent. But these are the things that we have to fight against, and all of you and Dr. King worked against. 2 nights ago, my wife talked me into going to see 42. Have any of you seen it? I see a few of you have. That was the movie about Jackie Robinson. He was the first black man to play for a Major League Baseball team from 1880 to April of 1947, almost this day in 1947, when he went on the field for first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers in a game in New York. When he went on the field, the people in the stands and even the manager of the opposing team chanted loudly, filled with hate, filled with total lack of comprehension of anything except this man was different from them, and they had learned in their heart and in their mind to hate because he was different. Shocking story. And the control and restraint that Jackie Robinson showed, the bravery in going out to be that man who made that first appearance and subsequent ones, was remarkable. I was just a few years old at that time. I was born in 43, this was 47, but 5 years later, when all of my friends and buddies were trading baseball playing cards, you remember them, that we used to trade with each other, I proudly traded Jackie Robinson baseball cards without even thinking about the color of his skin. He was just a great baseball player. And my friends did the same thing. Now, that didn't mean they'd gotten over their prejudices. Indeed, it was only a few years later that we had 9 black children that came to attend Central High School. And the governor who lived in this house, that part of the house up there at that time, called out the Arkansas National Guard to keep them from attending that school. And those in the crowd were chanting loudly the same things that were chanted at Jackie Robinson in 1947. Exactly the same. Martin Luther King is the one who called Dwight Eisenhower and said, federalize those troops and turn them into a force that admits those students instead of reject them. And Dwight Eisenhower did that. The next year, by the way, that governor, Governor Faubus, closed the public schools in this city rather than have them integrated, which meant that I and dozens of my friends, all of my friends in high school, did not have a high school to go to. By the way, we played football twice a day until October the 1st, when my mother insisted I go to school someplace. But we had a full football season that year for Central and Hall, just no school. The black students and the white students who lost that school year, most of them never got to come back to school. That was what Dr. King was fighting when he became so public in his appearances. And it was shortly after that, in August of 1963, I was at the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C., standing on the end of the mall, and I watched Dr. King give his I Have a Dream speech to a nation that still had not quite opened their hearts, but they were trying to open their minds at that time. And Dr. King described his dream, and it is a dream that the Martin Luther King Commission still tries to teach and support to this day, and all of us in this country and around the world need to support. On April 4th, 1968, at 6:01 p.m., just about this time of night, 130 miles from here, over in Memphis, James Earl Ray assassinated Martin Luther King. The man who was governor in this house at that time, and his name's on this staircase as well, was Winthrop Rockefeller. The change that occurred between 1957 and that date when Winthrop Rockefeller was governor was remarkable. His response to that was to have black and white citizens come together on the steps of the Arkansas State Capitol and hold hands and sing, "We Shall Overcome." The overcoming that Jackie Robinson was involved in, that Dr. King was involved in, that all of you are involved in to this day, is tough. It is overcoming our worst instincts, our most base instincts that exist, as again, not just in our country or in our state, but all over the world. But the best of our religions, the best teachings of all of our religions, Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, all speak a different message. It is only those who distort and use that message for their own private purposes that gets those religions saying things that are ungodly in my view and that cut away at humanity. And it is true in all of the cultures of this world as well, even those that hate each other so much, Chechens and Russians and what have you. The best of those cultures all teach respect for one another, love one another, do good to those who hate you. And yet, all too often, we fail to remember the best of our own religions and our own cultures. This commission, the NAACP, those of you in this room and so many other good people in this state always keep trying to teach those lessons, and maybe one day they will be everywhere. We are certainly vastly further along this day than we were in the 1950s and the 1960s and the 1970s. Dr. King, by his example and his rhetoric, constantly appealed simply to the best in us, to the very best in us. He wanted a country where race did not matter, where every citizen wanted to help assure the dignity of every other citizen and to rejoice in and extend a helping hand to one another. Dr. King was a good person, a good leader, and we remember him and celebrate him and his dreams and his lasting legacy with gratitude. We are here not just to honor, but to remember why Dr. King was killed, why Dr. King appeared at that speech speaking of his dream, why so many good people have fought the fight to pull the best out in each of us. We have to remind ourselves of that. If we remind ourselves, we will remember and we will teach our children. And eventually, I hope we will achieve the dream that Dr. King worked for and that all of you believe in and work for today. Thank you so much for your work.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Thank you for calling your GED Pep Talk Center. All right, now, are you ready for your GED Pep Talk?
Being nervous is okay. It just shows that you're serious about getting your diploma.
All right, listen, we all need a little nudge sometimes. I don't function without coffee in the morning, but it is going to take more than a double mochaccino to help you here.
A lot of things are scary. Heck, I'm scared of clowns.
No quiero oír. Danny, no lo puedo hacer. Quiero oír. Danny, lo voy a hacer.
TMC, liking your pep talk style.
Just keeping it real, Debs. Just keeping it real.
Look! louder. I'm gonna get my GED. Come on. Get your GED. Can you keep it down, brother?
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving. Make sure you get where you're going.
I'm Obese Wilson. I'm the Intergovernmental Relations Manager for the City of Little Rock. And I'm just proud to be here because I am the former co-chair of the King Commission about 5 years from 2000 to 2007. And it was a great experience. I actually was part of the governor's staff when he initiated the King Commission and have followed it as a staff person, as a volunteer and a supporter and a board member, and I truly believe in the work that they continue to do.
I am Lupe Peña Madison. I am a very proud commissioner on the Martin Luther King Commission. I am originally from Jalisco, Mexico, from a tiny town, Santiago de Alejandría.
My name is Archie Moore. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm here to support the Martin Luther King Commission, which is an organization that I'm very, very, very impressed with.
Why is it important for me to be here today? For my children. I have two children, and they're absolutely wonderful, and they are both, I guess, what in today's terms would be mixed. They're children, they're wonderful, and it's so interesting to watch their journey of identity. I'm here today for them.
Well, I think it's important because our young people and those who didn't live during the era of the civil rights struggle, although we still have some civil rights issues that we're currently addressing, to know the legacy of the pioneers in the civil rights movement.
Realizing that we are a state agency that promotes the legacy of Dr. King, we have an opportunity under this administration to bounce all over the state, promoting programs such as the Nonviolence Youth Summit. We've not only promoted that program, and we're now on our 8th series. We started back in West Memphis, then on to Pine Bluff, and now we're here getting ready to promote our anti-bullying conference in El Dorado for our 8th series. Besides that, we also commemorate Dr. King's legacy on April 4th every year, right in front of the steps of the state capitol, as we mark the anniversary and the assassination of Dr. King and promote its relevance throughout the youth throughout the state of Arkansas.
Why is the MLK Commission relevant today? We have come so far. We're no longer segregated. You and I are standing in the same room. We're talking, we're having this interview, but we still have a long ways to go. And a long ways to go is slightly different depending on who you are and your personal situation. And I can't walk in someone else's shoes, but I can definitely work together with others, because as the governor said, first I have to open my mind. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And so that's why the commission is relevant today, because it's easy to think my life is fine. I have a good career. I went to college. I have a nice house. I have 2 cars. It's nice to get comfortable and forget that our brothers, our humanity, our species, not everyone is as comfortable. So why am I here? Why is the commission relevant? Because as long as there's one person who's struggling because of the pigment of their skin, something they did not choose, there's still work to be done.
I think the legacy of Dr. King has to live on. We have to go beyond just a dream, but teaching the principles of nonviolence and academic excellence and inclusion, and that all of God's children are precious in His sight. Those are lessons that are learned and are very important forever. And so you know, they must be repeated. They must be constant. So because we got new generations, we always got members to see that. We got to exemplify those values, because if you look around, you know, those things are happening in our mass culture, politically, how Washington, D.C. is broke and people can't talk to each other, state legislators are turning on each other, those kind of things. So you have to have a voice of reason, consciousness, and inclusion just to remediate some of those things, and also feed that level of truth to our young people, because that's the most important thing, to mentor and raise young people to know a difference and know the value of Dr. King's dream.
Martin Luther King Commission relevancy today is an organization that is bringing together all races under one umbrella, and that is something that we really need in this day and time, and I'm just really love the Deshaun Scarborough and the Martin Luther King Commission for doing that.
My name is Christine Bell. I'm a legislative analyst for the state of Arkansas, and it's just an honor to be amongst brilliant minds celebrating such a brilliant man.
My son is African American, he's mixed, and I see his personal journey. And as I sit here talking about him, I asked him one day, I said, how do you identify yourself today? Because he is growing up very culturally Latino. I am his step-parent, and I hate that term. And I asked him, how do you identify? And he said to me, Lupe, what people have forgotten is that it's really a Star Wars issue. And I looked at him like, oh goodness, what are you going to tell me, right? And he said, it's a Star Wars issue in that as humans, we keep thinking that it's about our pigment, it's about the color of our skin or the color of the skin of our parents or their label. But at the end of the day, we're going to finally figure out that it's just a species issue. And if we're going to make it, we need to stick together. And I thought that was so insightful from a 15-year-old.
I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We've had an opportunity to really have a lot of fun. We've visited old friends and we've met new friends. And you know what's so special about this? The Arkansas Martin Luther King Jr. Commission is forging forward. I invite you to get involved. Please contact us at 501-683-1300 or visit our website at www.arkingdream.org.